Nowadays, searching for the truth on social media can feel like a quest for the Holy Grail. But does traditional media make that search any easier? Good evening, my name is Maia Mazurkiewicz, and welcome to the Anatomy of Disinformation. Amid the chaos of disinformation, reliable sources are more crucial than ever. Verifying what we read and hear by turning to professional journalism should be our first instinct. So why is trust in the media still slipping? In times of declining trust, does traditional media stand a chance against the changes we are facing? Do we need more freedom or regulations to support professional journalism? And do we really know how to counter disinformation? Let's talk about that and more with our first guest.
Michel Viatteau, journalist for the EU-sponsored European Newsroom project. He is a French journalist with Polish roots. A fact-check editor and journalist, Mr. Viatteau worked for several departments of AFP in Paris, and later as a correspondent in Tehran, Rome and the Vatican, Sarajevo, Moscow and Montreal.
Michel, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We are talking today about media and its role in countering disinformation. You've been working in several different outlets. How countering disinformation has changed for the past years, and what is the most important thing right now?
It's getting more and more important. Fighting against disinformation looks to me today as a never-ending story. It is a war which is difficult to win, but which must be waged. We must not surrender. Has it changed recently? Well, the answer is simple. Everybody knows. It applies to all developed countries, not only to the European member states. In fact, all countries where people have mobile phones. The arrival of the internet and major platforms has given disinformation extraordinary opportunities to spread. When I started working at Agence France-Presse 50 years ago, false information had little chance of spreading through the mainstream media. What was published was verified, checked beforehand by professionals, professional journalists. Of course, there were already conspiracy theories, jokes, political influences, but they were quickly identified. Today, what happens today? Millions of people, especially young people, no longer seek out reputable media outlets. They get their information directly from platforms where anyone can publish anything.
Today, Michel, is it about the speed of disinformation and the speed of information itself?
It is a course of speed, certainly, I would say that, but it's also about the quality of disinformation, which is improving. And the well-crafted fake news story can go viral in a matter of minutes, hours, and reach millions, even tens of millions of readers, viewers, and stopping it is much more difficult than before. So it has changed. So to answer your question, I will repeat, the fight against disinformation is difficult, but it must be waged. And we have to be prepared to fight against increasingly sophisticated, effective, and difficult to refute fake news.
And what is the most important for media right now? Do you think that the approach that the European Commission is taking, so regulations, is the way forward?
Let's say a very difficult path to choose for the European Union. Because, we have in the Digital Service Act and the European Democracy Action Plan, they include a voluntary code of conduct that requires major platforms to monitor their content, to identify what they call systemic risks. It is a very good development. It helps us, certainly, helps the media, helps the journalists. But the key word here, I'm afraid, is voluntary. In other words, platforms may choose how they verify whether their content moderation systems is effective or not. Is it effective enough to stop disinformation? Well, of course, we have different opinions. For critics of this measure, that is for proponents of absolute freedom of expression, this could be called censorship, and they're fighting against it.
Michel, what traditional media can do about that? Because that's very important issue as well, right? We're having obviously the platforms that you are talking about right now, but there are traditional media as well, and reliable sources are right now crucial.
Well, of course, one top French diplomat in the 19th century, Prince Talleyrand, said there is one absolute weapon against slander, we may say disinformation, it is the truth. So the first weapon the traditional media have to use is the truth, but the most important, as far as I see it, is the education of the public. We must convince the public that they have to look for serious information in the traditional media, where the information is done by professionals who are serious, who know that if they publish something which is completely false, well, they will lose their jobs. So we have to just educate. We are doing this. The traditional media in France, but not only in France, in Germany, in UK, are organizing workshops, meetings. In France, we have what we call Media Day, where journalists go to the schools or to the universities. It's on the 3rd of May, I think, every year, and explain that the serious information is needed for democracy and where you have to look for this. And they alert people against fake or not very reliable news on the platforms. So the education is a very important thing.
But yet still some of the traditional media can, pass the fake information, and it's happening. So is there a fact-checking within the traditional media that you see right now enough, or should traditional media strengthen also this part within themselves?
Well, as a big supporter of fact-checking, I think some traditional media would do well to strengthen it, of course. But let's say that the traditional media, which use the fake news, take a huge risk, because it will be known. The traditional media are in competition with other traditional media and with the platforms, with what is published on the platforms. So if they publish real fake news, they will be criticized strongly, accused of being not serious, and they will lose the readers. And when you lose readers, you lose the publicity, advertisement. So you lose money. And in fact, the problem, we didn't speak about it, but the real problem of traditional media today is they're losing money, less and less money, less and less funds for sending reporters and correspondents for long missions abroad. Why? Because the publicity goes to the web, it goes to the internet.
And they are trying to use the algorithms, hence doing the clickbaits. So what is the solution for it? What else traditional media right now needs?
Well, the traditional media, as I said, they have to improve the public, improve the education of the public, education to the media, and of course, they have also make some fact-checking by themselves. And it is we have really a kind of revolution in the traditional media. Our world is changing. It is difficult. We are getting less money from our job, and disinformation is spreading. But we will not surrender. We will fight, and we just hope for a change in the public mentality. And we hope people will see that the fake news really is a danger for democracy. We have to defend it.
Thank you so much, Michel. And I think that's a great message also to the traditional media to talk about disinformation and what challenges it brings. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Social media pundits and self-styled experts provide fast and easily accessible information on global developments. But what they often lack are the tools, methods, and reliability of well-established media outlets. In this next report, we'll take a look at how mainstream media keep disinformation in check.
There are significant differences between your favorite YouTube expert, often self-styled, and legacy media.
The biggest difference is just in numbers, because in legacy media organizations you have hundreds or thousands of people working who have various specializations and expertise in various topics.
The perforation of the steel indicating that their rounds were coming through this direction.
Although charismatic and relatable, social media pundits are often jacks of all trades and masters of none.
There is this thing called halo effect or attribution error, which is that we may like someone or respect them for their expertise in something, in one topic, which automatically makes us trust them about everything.
Another advantage that legacy media has over independent commentators is their arsenal of sophisticated tools. Let's take as an example the April 8, 2022 Russian missile attack on the railway station in the Ukrainian city of Kramatorsk, which killed 63 civilians. In this case, Russian pundits and military officials shifted the blame onto Ukraine.
One of the main ways that the claim was debunked was by comparing photos taken after the attack with satellite imagery. Legacy media organizations had boots on the ground. Reporters were able to quite quickly get to the place, to interview witnesses, to photograph the place of the attack. And that's something that I think that not even like the handful few biggest influencers would be able to do.
Another case of mainstream media deflecting Russian disinformation attempts is the investigation into the March 2022 massacre in Bucha, where 458 Ukrainian citizens were murdered in the suburbs of Kiev at the hands of the Russians. The Kremlin has been claiming that the people in Bucha were killed by their fellow Ukrainians.
The New York Times visual investigation team was able to access basically time-stamped satellite images which showed bodies laying on the street with dates that prove that before even the Ukrainians got into the town, the killings have already happened. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch were able to interview people, eyewitnesses, and conduct an investigation on the ground. They were able to examine bullet fragments, the destroyed buildings. And additionally, quite recently, Radio Free Europe reported that they have gotten access to previously undisclosed dashcam footage that also proves Russian involvement in the massacre.
Russia has been consistently denying any responsibility for the Bucha massacre and other crimes it committed throughout the ongoing invasion of Ukraine.
Hungary ranks 85th on the World Press Freedom Index. Its low score is tied to the government's takeover of the media, as well as the ever-shrinking space for independent reporting, for reasons that include the surveillance of journalists. Our next guest is here to talk about how important media freedom is in democracy.
Dániel Kovács, founder, Forum Europaeum. He's a Hungarian journalist at a pan-European media outlet that produces content about culture and politics in a European context. This year, Mr. Kovács won the European Charlemagne Youth Prize, one of the European Parliament's most prestigious awards.
Daniel, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today, straight from Budapest.
Hello everyone, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, and we are talking today about the media, traditional media, and the importance of the traditional media as well. You are coming from Hungary, which is having transparency in public life law that is proposed. How does it affect freedom of media?
Okay, so in May, there was a very important bill proposed by the government, which was called the Transparency Bill, and it would have taken the 1% tax donations from the so-called independent media. However, they postponed that bill, and it never became a law.
So, but it's just a part of work of the government towards the media, right? So what is the situation of the independent journalism in Hungary nowadays?
It's basically, I could say, targeted by the government. We now have an agency as well called Sovereignism Defense Agency, and it's especially for targeting these independent media outlets, I would say. So the government wants to hinder everything regarding the functioning of these independent media platforms.
Are they checking specifically ways of how they work or some narratives that they're writing about?
Yeah, the narrative is that independent media are founded from foreign countries, mainly from Brussels, now that the Trump administration is here. The Americans are not supporters of the independent media of Hungary, according to the government. So it's only Brussels. And basically, for example, our Prime Minister, Mr. Viktor Orbán, says that he does not give interviews to these so-called independent media outlets because of the fact that they are founded from Brussels. So there is no, not even a way to or not way, but they don't want to engage with these media outlets.
And the media are called as the fourth power, right? Where the sovereignty and the independence is in their core. I understand that right now that's a key thing for the Hungarian government to not have the freedom of media in the country.
Yeah, I could say, we can say that. Before the TISA party's emergence, there was not a real opposition, I would say. And the media functioned as the fourth branch of power. And basically the media, the independent media, was there for the people instead of the opposition.
And how traditional media are in collaboration with disinformation, countering disinformation?
Traditional media in Hungary is very interesting. Very few people watch these traditional media platforms, mostly elderly people. And I could say that all of these traditional media channels or TV channels are influenced by the government, and they are pro-government. So, yeah, and how they operate, basically, some are truly just propaganda machines, and some can also create valuable content. So it differs.
Is Hungarian society aware of influence operations and disinformation? Is it something that is there in the information space?
I could say yes, but it depends on the context. So it's very hard to realize something, to see if something is disinformation or not, especially, for example, on Facebook and these sites. And besides that, there's a mentality in Hungary, which is the following: what the TV says is true. So many people think this, so it's very strange.
And is a fact-checking a thing? So do you consider that traditional media and media in general, or civil society organizations in Hungary, they do a lot of fact-checking and other counter-disinformation measures?
I don't think that it's that popular as, for example, in the US or in Western European countries, but we do have organizations or media outlets focused on fact-checking. For example, there's one called Lakmus, and they do that.
So what role can EU institutions or European level media networks, right, play in supporting Hungarian media and independence?
I think that it's counterproductive at this point. So many of these independent media outlets don't want to get funds from the European Union or other organizations or other states because of the fact that they could be targeted easily. So I don't think that the help is, of course it's needed, but it's very hard to get it, I would say. And mostly the taxpayers pay this for the media outlets from the 1% of the tax donations. So, yeah.
And you were also working on fact-checking in general. What is the challenge in fact-checking, especially nowadays when especially young generation is mostly taking information from social media like TikTok and short videos?
Yeah, it's very hard. So especially on TikTok, how the algorithm works, it's a mess. And people can be radicalized very easily. For example, there's a channel called Nézz Utána in Hungarian, look it up, where a person simply tells what's a blatant lie and then tells the truth. And this simple way of telling people what's true and what's not with sources, that's the best option, I would say.
Daniel, thank you so much for joining us and telling what is happening on the ground in Hungary. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Now let's take a look at a few practical tips on how the media can fight disinformation.
Verify before publishing. Promote media literacy. Ensure transparency and accountability. Together, these practices strengthen public trust and create a more resilient information environment that limits the influence of disinformation.
Someone once said that whoever controls the media controls the mind. Now the question is simple. Do we let fear-mongering algorithms think for us, or are we looking for the facts? Traditional media and reliable sources are key to verifying information. So next time you see or hear an alarming message, verify it and remember to keep calm and think deeply.